A man in his late 50s steps out of the grocery store carrying 2 bags in each hand. He has made this walk hundreds of times, from the cart to the car, from the car to the kitchen. Nothing dramatic, nothing worth mentioning. But halfway across the driveway, his fingers begin to ache, his shoulders feel heavier than they should, and he sets the bags down for a moment. He looks at them, almost as if they have betrayed him. They have not changed. He has. Perhaps your moment was different. Maybe you noticed yourself reaching for the handrail on stairs you once climbed without thinking. Maybe getting up from a low chair now takes a small push from your hands. Maybe you still do everything you have always done, but it costs just a little more effort. That quiet change is what worries many people after 50, not the number on a birthday cake, but the possibility of losing the strength to carry groceries, to end a garden, serve at church, or lift a grandchild. And when that fear begins to whisper, health marketing is ready with another powder capsule or expensive bottle. But what if supporting your body after 50 does not begin with another supplement? What if it begins with 7 ordinary foods that have appeared on tables since biblical times? Scripture does not give us a miracle diet, and these foods cannot turn back the clock. But they can help us think more wisely about protein, fiber, healthy fats, steady energy, and the daily choices that protect independence. And stay with me to the final food, because many people consume it in a form that removes much of what made the original fruit valuable in the first place. Before we begin, we need to tell the truth plainly. No single food rebuilds the whole body. Lentils cannot replace movement. Fish cannot make up for chronic sleep loss. Olive oil does not cancel a diet built on ultra-processed food. Almonds are not medicine, and pomegranate is not a treatment for heart disease. The body needs a patterned protein across the day: vegetables and fruit, fiber-rich grains and legumes, unsaturated fats, medical care, rest, and regular movement. Caring for the body is not fear or vanity. For a Christian, it can be stewardship, the decision to care for what has been entrusted to us so we can keep loving, serving, and showing up. Faith and responsible medicine do not have to compete. Sometimes wisdom means preparing a better dinner. Sometimes it means calling the doctor. With that foundation, let us begin with a food so humble that many people overlook it, even though it once sat at the center of one of the most memorable meals in Genesis. Food number 1 is lentils. In Genesis 25, Esau returns from the field exhausted and sees Jacob preparing a red stew. He asks for some because he feels spent. The tragedy is not that lentils had magical power. It is that Esau, overwhelmed by hunger, traded something lasting for immediate relief. Yet the scene also shows that lentil stew was familiar food: warm, filling, practical, and affordable enough to feed a household. That matters today. Many people over 50 are told they need expensive specialty products to begin eating well. Yet a bag of lentils may cost less than 1 serving of a branded wellness shake and can become soup, stew, salad, or a side dish for several meals. Lentils provide plant protein and dietary fiber. They are not a complete answer to age-related muscle loss, but they can help strengthen the overall eating pattern, especially when they replace part of a meal built around processed meat or refined carbohydrates. Fiber can also make a meal more satisfying. On an ordinary Tuesday, onion, garlic, carrots, lentils, tomatoes, herbs, and a little olive oil can become several generous bowls. Good stewardship is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is learning that nourishment does not have to be costly to be meaningful. If you are not accustomed to legumes, increase them gradually, because a sudden jump in fiber may cause digestive discomfort. Rinsing canned lentils can reduce some of the sodium, and if you have kidney disease, a specialized gastrointestinal condition, or a medically restricted diet, ask a qualified professional how legumes fit your needs. But for many households, lentils are one of the simplest places to begin. If someone in your family is trying to eat more wisely without becoming frightened by every new health headline, consider sharing this video with them. Lentils bring fiber and plant protein, but maintaining strength after 50 also requires protein the body can use efficiently. That leads us from Jacob's cooking fire to a charcoal fire beside the Sea of Galilee. Food number 2 is fish. In Luke 24, the risen Jesus eats fish in the presence of his disciples. In John 21, the scene becomes even more intimate. The disciples have worked through the night. They are tired, uncertain, and carrying more than physical fatigue. When they reach the shore, they find a fire, fish, and bread. Before the questions, and before Peter is called back into responsibility, there is breakfast, warm food prepared for exhausted people. I used to move quickly toward the dialogue, but the meal itself says something beautiful. Care can be practical. Fish remains valuable for practical reasons. It provides high-quality protein, and many varieties supply the long-chain omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA. That does not mean every viewer needs a fish oil capsule. Food and concentrated supplements are not the same thing, and supplements can interact with medications. For many people, eating fish as part of a balanced meal is a more grounded starting point than assuming a bottle is automatically better. Why should an older viewer care about protein? The goal is not a number on a label. It is standing from a chair with confidence, carrying laundry, working in the yard, traveling, and getting back up from the floor after playing with grandchildren. Fish will not produce those abilities by itself, but adequate protein gives the body material it needs, while resistance exercise gives the muscles a reason to remain. A simple meal might be baked salmon with vegetables, sardines on whole grain toast, or a modest portion of tuna mixed with beans and greens. Canned fish can be affordable and convenient, although sodium varies, so labels matter. Preparation matters. Deep-fried fish is not the same meal as fish baked with herbs and lemon. People with seafood allergies must avoid it, and mercury differs by species. Lower mercury choices commonly include salmon, sardines, trout, pollock, shrimp, and canned light tuna. Follow local advice for fish caught nearby. Here is the deeper point. The shore breakfast in John 21 was not a performance. It was a simple meal connected to presence, restoration, and renewed purpose. Perhaps your version is preparing fish for a spouse who has had a tiring week, or sitting down instead of eating over the sink. Food supports the body, but a shared meal can support the person. Protein helps with repair, yet many people still reach 2 or 3 in the afternoon feeling as though the strength has drained out of them. Often the problem is not a lack of willpower. It is the pattern of energy they have built from breakfast onward. Food number 3 is barley. Barley appears throughout Scripture, but 2 scenes reveal its character especially well. In Ruth 2, Ruth follows the harvesters and gathers what remains in the barley fields so she and Naomi can eat. It is a story of poverty, courage, provision, and dignity. She is not handed a life of ease. She bends, gathers, carries, and returns home with food earned through exhausting work. Barley also appears in John 6 as 5 small loaves carried by a boy. It was ordinary food, and the meal begins with something modest, something easy to dismiss. Modern nutrition gives us another reason not to dismiss it. Less refined barley contains fiber and fits within a whole grain eating pattern. It is not a cure for diabetes, and no grain should be described that way. But replacing some refined grains with fiber-rich whole grains may help create meals that digest more gradually and feel more satisfying. Think about a breakfast of sweet pastry and coffee. It tastes good, it is quick, and 2 hours later, the person is hungry again. Then comes another coffee, perhaps something from the vending machine, and by late afternoon, he wonders why his energy feels so unstable. Barley will not solve every cause of fatigue. Many medical conditions can cause fatigue and deserve attention. But the composition of a meal still matters. Barley can be added to soup, combined with lentils, used in a grain bowl, or substituted for part of the white rice in a familiar dish. Hulled barley is less refined than pearl barley, though pearl barley can still contribute fiber and may be easier to cook. Start where you are. Healthy food does not need to be difficult. Ruth's barley field reminds us that provision sometimes arrives one small handful at a time. That may be how change happens in your kitchen too, not through a complete dietary revolution on Monday morning, but through one better breakfast, one pot of soup, and one grain you learn to prepare well. Barley filled the bowl, but the next biblical food enriched nearly everything it touched. It lit homes, appeared in ceremonies, softened skin, welcomed guests, and flavored meals. Food number 4 is olive oil. Deuteronomy describes the Promised Land as a place of wheat, barley vines, fig trees, pomegranates, and olive oil. In James 5, oil appears in the care offered to the sick. Across the biblical world, olive oil was not merely a trendy ingredient. It was woven into daily life. It burned in lamps. It was used in food, grooming, hospitality, and religious practice. That history tempts marketers to turn olive oil into a cure-all. Claims that a spoonful will detox the body, erase pain, or work like medicine go beyond responsible evidence. Olive oil's clearest nutritional value is much less theatrical and much more useful. It provides unsaturated fat, and it can replace some sources of saturated fat, such as butter shortening or fatty sauces. The benefit comes from the substitution and the overall pattern, not from drinking oil as though it were a tonic. You do not have to reject familiar foods. Roast vegetables with a measured amount of olive oil and herbs, make a simple dressing, or use it in place of some butter. Small decisions. Realistic decisions. Olive oil is still calorie-dense, so pouring freely does not automatically make a meal healthier, and it should never be promoted as a replacement for treatment. But there is something reassuring about an ingredient whose value does not require a complicated ritual. It works quietly in the background, improving the meal by what it replaces. Healthy aging is often less about adding one impressive substance and more about replacing what works against us, a solid fat with an unsaturated oil, a processed snack with a whole food, an hour of sitting with safe movement. Simple choices are often the ones we can repeat. The next food is small enough to disappear in the palm of your hand, yet in Scripture it became a sign that something apparently lifeless had begun to grow again. Food number 5 is almonds. In Genesis 43, Jacob tells his sons to carry some of the best products of the land as a gift, and almonds are included. They were valuable enough to present with care. In number 17, Aaron's staff does something astonishing. It buds, blossoms, and produces almonds. The passage is not a nutrition lesson, and almonds do not carry supernatural power into a snack bowl. But the image is unforgettable, a dry staff showing signs of life. For an older viewer, that image carries gentle hope. Aging is not the same as becoming useless. Growth may look different than it did at 30, but service and renewal do not end at 50, 60, or 70. Nutritionally, almonds provide plant protein, unsaturated fats, fiber, and several micronutrients. They do not build muscle by themselves, but they can be a practical replacement for snacks dominated by refined flour, sugar, or heavily processed oils. Imagine the familiar 3 o'clock moment. Lunch is long gone, dinner is still hours away. You open the pantry and reach for cookies almost without deciding. A small portion of unsalted almonds with an apple or pear may not feel exciting enough to appear in an advertisement, but it can be satisfying and easy to repeat. A sustainable habit does not need to feel exciting. Portion still matters because nuts are energy-dense and a large bag makes overeating easy. Choose plain or lightly salted almonds rather than candy-coated varieties. Anyone with a tree nut allergy must avoid them. People who have difficulty chewing can use unsweetened almond butter, but should check the ingredient list because some products add sugar palm oil or excess salt. And if you have swallowing difficulties, speak with a clinician about safe textures. The value of almonds is not that they are exotic, it is that they are compact, familiar, and useful. A small food can support a better choice at the exact hour when good intentions usually weaken. But the next food introduces a different challenge. It is naturally sweet, and that sweetness can either serve the meal or quietly become another source of excess. Food number 6 is figs. In 1 Samuel 30, David's men find an Egyptian servant abandoned in the field. He has gone without food and water for 3 days. They give him water bread, a piece of fig cake, and raisins. After he eats them, his strength returns. We should not turn that scene into a claim that figs possess a special recovery power. The man was depleted and needed food and water. The fig cake was part of that care. What moves me is the order. They do not begin by interrogating him. They feed him. Before he becomes useful to them, he is treated as a human being. Figs also appear in the prophetic image of people sitting safely beneath their own vine and fig tree, unafraid. That vision reaches beyond nutrition. Health is also having enough strength and peace to remain present at home, share food, and enjoy ordinary life without constant fear. Figs are fruit, not medicine. Fresh figs provide sweetness within the structure of a whole food. Dried figs are smaller and more concentrated because much of the water has been removed, so it is easy to eat several quickly. For someone monitoring blood glucose, that difference matters. A reasonable use might be fresh figs with plain yogurt, 1 or 2 dried figs paired with nuts or chopped fig added to oatmeal or barley instead of a large spoonful of brown sugar. The goal is not to label natural sugar as dangerous. It is to respect concentration and portion. Natural does not mean unlimited. Figs should not be used to treat infections, wounds, abscesses, or serious skin problems at home. The account of a fig poultice in the story of Hezekiah does not justify delaying medical care for a modern infection. Scripture records what happened. It does not turn every ancient practice into a universal home remedy. Mature faith can honor the text while still asking careful questions about evidence and safety. Our final food is praised for beauty and abundance. Cut it open and you find hundreds of jewel-like seeds held in remarkable order. Yet many modern consumers buy only the juice, often missing the form that makes the fruit most useful in an ordinary diet. Food number 7 is pomegranate. In Numbers 13, the scouts return from the land carrying grapes, figs, and pomegranates, visible evidence of abundance. Pomegranate shapes also decorated the priestly garments described in Exodus. The fruit carried associations of fruitfulness, beauty, and provision. A hard outer skin protects a hidden world of red arils. The fruit does not reveal its abundance until it is opened. Pomegranates contain polyphenols, plant compounds widely studied for antioxidant activity. Some human research has examined pomegranate juice or extracts in relation to blood pressure and other cardiovascular markers, but the evidence is not strong enough to call pomegranate a treatment or to promise that it cleans arteries. Laboratory findings and short trials are not proof of a meaningful, long-term health outcome. Yet concentrated extracts are often sold with claims that sound far more certain than the research. Whole pomegranate arils offer something juice often provides in much smaller amounts: the physical structure and fiber of the fruit. Juice is easier to consume quickly, and bottled versions may contain added sugar or larger portions than you would expect to eat as whole fruit. That does not make every glass harmful. It means form and portion matter. Sprinkle arils over salad, yogurt, oatmeal, or barley. Let them add color and tartness rather than expecting medicine. Concentrated pomegranate supplements deserve more caution, especially for people taking prescription medications or preparing for surgery. Certain medications carry specific warnings about pomegranate, and supplement-drug interactions are not always well understood. Ask a pharmacist or clinician before using concentrated products. Here is the promised payoff. The fruit was never the problem. The mistake is assuming juice extract and whole fruit are interchangeable. Removing fiber, concentrating the dose, adding sugar, or putting the fruit in a capsule creates a different product. Ancient wisdom is not honored by taking an ordinary food and turning it into an aggressive promise. It is honored by receiving food with gratitude and using it with restraint. Now return to the man in the driveway with the grocery bags. He does not need to feel ashamed for setting them down. His body is giving him information. Perhaps he has been less active, is recovering from illness, or has a medical issue that deserves attention. Perhaps he needs to rebuild capacity patiently. The 7 foods we explored, lentils, fish, barley, olive oil, almonds, figs, and pomegranate, can support a healthier eating pattern. Lentils and fish offer protein, barley and whole fruit contribute fiber, olive oil and almonds provide unsaturated fats. Figs and pomegranate bring sweetness and variety. But none of them can maintain muscles that are never asked to work. This may be the most important truth in the entire video. Food supplies material. Movement sends the signal. Strength training adapted to your ability can help maintain muscle mobility, balance, and independence as you age. It does not mean lifting what you lifted at 25. It may begin with chair stands, resistance bands, light weights, safe stairs, or guidance from a therapist or qualified trainer. If you have heart disease, significant joint pain, dizziness, a recent surgery, uncontrolled blood pressure, or another medical concern, ask your healthcare professional what is appropriate before beginning. This week, do not try to change everything. Choose one meal you already eat. Add one meaningful protein source, perhaps lentils or fish. Replace one refined grain with barley or another whole grain. Add a vegetable or whole fruit. Then give your muscles a safe reason to stay with you. Take a walk. Practice standing from a chair. Do the exercise your clinician has approved. Repeat it long enough for the choice to become part of your life. The body is not a broken machine, waiting for one miracle ingredient. It is a gift that asks for patience, discipline, nourishment, movement, and gratitude. Some days you will feel strong. Some days the grocery bags will feel heavier. Caring for yourself faithfully does not mean pretending those differences are not real. It means responding with wisdom rather than fear. Which of these 7 foods was already part of your family's kitchen? Perhaps it was lentil soup fish on Friday, barley in a grandmother's stew, figs at Christmas, or almonds kept in a small dish for guests. Tell us in the comments. Growing older may change what your body asks of you, but it does not remove your ability to care for it. One faithful meal, one thoughtful choice, and one day at a time.